Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/WiseGuyRadio. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. That's at www.audibletrial.com, AUDIBLETRIAL.com/WiseGuyRadio. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 36. This is J.Michael, your host. I am driving home from another long day at Disney, and I'm super excited to be on my way home and talking to you guys, so thank you for tuning in. This show is dedicated to educating, inspiring, and entertaining all of you out there in the glass world, whether you're an artist, an enthusiast, or a shop owner. So thank you all for tuning in. Today's guest we have on our show is Drue Downs, who is an OG glass artist. He's been behind the torch now for around 20-ish plus years. I think he said closer to 25. But he fills that all in his story that he shares with us. Also, don't forget, if you guys have not subscribed yet to our newsletter, just go to wiseguyradio.com. That's WYZGUYradio.com, and subscribe to our newsletter at the very bottom, where you will get our weekly updates, weekend reviews for podcast episodes, and also lots of exclusive content. And this week in particular's exclusive content is going to be the top 10 items that you forget to use as tax deductions when you start a small business. And this insight and information actually came from my wife, who shared it with me. She is actually in the middle of starting her own little business as a Scentsy distributor, Scentsy Pot, not Scentsy Melia, but the Scentsy Pot, smelly good stuff for your house. And so anybody that wants to get on board and be a Scentsy rep, or just purchase Scentsy oils, or the whatever the hell the stuff is, wax for your candles, gimmicks, you can contact me, or you can contact her. And I have a new email. My new email is info@wiseguyradio.com. info@wiseguyradio.com. So if anybody wants to contact me, you have any critiques, any ideas for the show, you want to be a guest, come on board, any products, blah, 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 anything like that, go ahead and feel free to contact me, even if all you want to do is just say hi, because I enjoy the hellos. One more thing we're going to be adding to our site very soon is an events calendar. So anybody out there in the world of glass, whether you're a smoke shop, a retail owner, you have a school, you have a demo, whatever, please feel free to contact me, again, at info@wiseguyradio.com. With that information detail, basically just need the date, the time that has taken place, and the location, and we will plug that into our calendar plugin that we're going to be adding to our website here very soon. So anybody out there that wants to look and see what's going on out there in the world of glass, whether it's going to be stuff anywhere around the world, so this goes to anybody out there listening, we will put it up there for you guys. info@wiseguyradio.com, whatever you need to tell me about your event, and we will hook it up. So other than that, guys, thank you real quick to anybody out there listening to this show outside of the United States of America, whether you're in Canada, Asia, Australia, Europe. I mean, just you guys are blowing my mind. I can look on my stats and see geographical statistics on where this show is being listened to. And I've got people listening to me in Korea, in China, in Hong Kong, in Australia, in the UK, in the Netherlands, in Spain, Central South America, Canada. It's just freaking awesome. So thank you all so much, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, for tuning in and listening to the show and sharing with your friends and everything else. I really hope all this information and insight not only is entertaining, but also is helpful in all areas of your business, and also as a glass artist. And again, this show isn't just about pipe making, it's about glass art in general, whether you're a furnace worker, doing stained glass, beads, jewelry, whatever. We want to cover it all. So once again, thank you all so much for tuning in. This is episode 36 with my dude Drue Downs, and we will talk to you all soon. See you guys on Wednesday, which we will be covering the final portions of the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber and a final review of the book, and then I'll be announcing the book that we will be going over starting in October. Take it easy. Love you guys. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. Hey, what's going on, Drew? How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you today, Jay?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Stoked to have you on here on the show because I've admired your work, bro, for a long time. Whether you realize that or not, I've definitely know your stuff, and it's fun to have you on the show to discuss your long OG experience in the glass world and your influences and what have you. And if you want to kind of go off and start off with letting us know kind of who introduced you to the torch and how you got started and what really brought you to becoming a glass artist.
Right on. Thank you. I appreciate that and all the support. Thank you.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
My name's Drew. It's Drue and Downs. That last was kind of given to me by an old friend, but anyway, that's a long story. So I would say in like 91 or 92, I first saw my first color changing functional piece on Dead Torque. It's actually RFK in Washington, D.C., and just kind of fell in love with it. I was doing photography and fine art at the time, and just was mesmerized by this craft, by this amazing, new thing in my hand that we could commune with, share with, and also, evolve and change colors as the life of the piece went on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of my prized possessions. So anyway, fast forward to like 93, I was on the road and mining some minerals and made it down to Arkansas and happened to run into a gentleman who was friends with Cameron Tower. And had gone to Zen meditation school with him, and I, after talking with him, let him know I was on my way out west to try and meet Bob Snodgrass and his crew to learn how to blow glass. And this is something that a journey that I really had focused on and was trying hard to get out west. So we called him in Arkansas on the phone, little weird, town in Arkansas, as far away from that scene as you could get, and actually talked to Cameron on the phone. And the next year I was out in Eugene and called him back up after he invited me out there when I was on the phone with him in Arkansas. Went back out to Eugene and called him up and met him at his shop. He was working with Bob Batcham at the time, and this would be 1994. They were at their shop, Fox Hollow, in Eugene, Oregon. And they were working together and pioneering some of the new techniques and new styles of pieces that we all kind of take for granted today. I just found out recently that they had only been working maybe a year by themselves and had been they had only been working about 2.5 years when I met them. And of course, when I met them, I thought they had been working a lifetime. Just magic they could create, in front of my eyes. So I remember one late night, me and Cameron were sitting in the shop, and he busted out this giant one-piece Sherlock that you could cradle in your arm like a giant saxophone and watch that be made in front of me. We set it in the kiln. About an hour later, we pulled it out, watched it cool down on top of the kiln. I remember using that piece while it was still warm to touch my lips
wow.
from out of the kiln. And, that was honestly what started the fever for the fire inside of me.
Huh.
That experience. So I was lucky enough to get a couple lessons and be able to hang out with those guys for a number of months, like 94, and do a little prep and a couple, I guess today we would call them collab pieces. Back then we were just kind of working together, and I was kind of learning and getting lessons and pointers. And then I opened up my own little shop in a little chicken shack behind my house, and I was right off the Lameth Street in Eugene. And that would be like the summer of 95, and kind of started to, learn my foundation in glass with lessons from some of the, and pointers from, Cameron and Bob and some of the other old school blowers that were there at the time, which may have been 15 or 20 at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That I was aware of anyway, in the color changing or functional glass world.
Heck yeah. So how long so a couple of years you stayed out there in Oregon doing that?
Yeah, I was out there from 93 till, I guess, the fall of 95. I had kind of bounced around in houses in the fall, hung out with old friend Jay Harris a little bit and worked with him and lived with him a little bit. And then, unfortunately, police ran up on the house or something happened, and I was back to couch surfing again, and I got a call from Mom my brother that Mom wasn't doing well. She has lupus and might not make it, so packed my book bag up and my stuff and hopped on the plane and headed back east to Pennsylvania, where I'm from.
Huh. So did you go back to Pennsylvania and start doing glass again, or did you put that on hold for a while?
I did. Yeah, I did. As soon as I came back, my parents had a nice commercial building. They still had their business, the plumbing business. My dad, 94 and a third-generation master plumber. My mom's 70. She was an antique dealer.
Wow.
So I grew up around like trade and crap my whole life. So they had this awesome house, and I was lucky enough to have a back, old butcher room that was all cement and bricks. So Mom and Dad weren't worried about me burning down their house with the new crafts I came back, or mad scientist trait I came back with from the East Coast, and was lucky enough to set up a shop in Lancaster County, actually, Amish country, in '95. I was told recently by Stan Alba, an old snotty apprentice in Cameron, that they considered me the first East Coast pioneer of color changing glass, as far as like bringing that teaching out and being the first person making color changing pipe.
Interesting.
On the East Coast.
Hell yeah.
So that was an honor to hear. An honor to, just an honor.
Yeah, I can imagine, dude. Well, I know, like, myself personally, like, the first pipe I ever came across was a friend of mine pulled out this, like, big, giant potato-looking thing, and it had all these wiggles and squiggles and patterns on the inside, but it was all color changer. And I was like, I just was completely blown away. It was like I was holding this colorful brain in my head, that I could use, ceremonially. And, it was just like so intrigued by it. But then I started coming across the people that I was hearing like, oh, there's these couple glass blowers down the road and whatever that I never met, but I had heard about them, but I was so intrigued by it. And then I bought my first piece myself from Chameleon, like right out of the back of their station wagon when they were still driving around on the road back in like 97, I think it was. And that was still about 2 years before I got into the torch myself. But it was like, still, like you're saying, like seeing this like amazing thing happen as you used it, that it was changing colors. I'm like, what the hell is this, And then like you fast forward to today, where most of the community out there, the younger generation that's using this stuff, everything's clear. There's some amazing color changing glass going on, but it's interesting to see like how clean people keep their glass now, which doesn't allow color changers to change colors, so that it's an interesting kind of evolution of what the glass has kind of turned into. But there's still like amazing color changing going on. But in 15 years of this process, it's kind of fun to see the evolution, but there's still the older foundational work is still being done, and I appreciate it myself. Like I haven't used silver period in my glass in probably 3 years. But I still have a coin sitting on my bench always, just in case I need to bust it out and use it.
Just in case the inspiration comes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely an ebb and flow to the functional glass world. From to be honest with you, I think 82 or 85 is when Bob accidentally, fumed a piece of clear tubing with silver while I was mixing silver white, which was an old color that we used to mix with silver and clear together and get a nice creamy silver white color. And I believe that is what, started the color changing craze. I recently also was told that Cullen Fowler and some of those guys up in Alaska and up north were doing some teamwork on some ornaments and stuff back in like 79 and 80, but they weren't using it in the same application as functional, so they didn't really get the color changing effect. Right. They were using it more like a luster. So that was interesting to hear recently. It's interesting. I mean, I would say about a year and a half ago, I took a class of Yushin, and before that, I was stuck in, I wouldn't say stuck, but I was kind of like writer's block, creator's block into the old school, just fume style, which I did not see much of out in the industry. So it wasn't getting, much of a positive response. People weren't understanding it. They didn't really know about it, things of that nature. It wasn't out there, so it wasn't getting appreciated, I guess. It's funny how that happened.
Yeah,
but anyway.
It sure is.
So I would say about a year and a half ago, I took a class with Yushin down at the Heat Base in Virginia. Shout out to the Heat Base crew. They're no longer there anymore, but so that was an awesome class. I learned so much awesome knowledge. I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit here, but So I took a 3 to 4 day intensive class from Machine, and it just opened up a whole new world of, like you said, the color changing to the pre-colored, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And years ago, I used to call that carnival glass because we had 15 colors, 20 colors. And then slowly over, I would say, like, I don't know, 97, 98, 99, into the 2000s, it started to evolve into more colored glass. Instead of just clear glass, it was our palette, like a canvas. And we had gold and silver and very few colors to paint with. Is how I kind of, would describe it to somebody who doesn't really understand glass very well. And then fast forward 5, 10 years later, and the technology caught up, and, then there were 50 colors, and there were 100 colors. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there's 300 to 350 different colors out there that we have to choose from in America alone, I think.
Yeah, we're approaching the soft glass world.
So
yeah, it's amazing.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, man, because, I always say, too, like, I remember back when, jade green was around, it was, like, the worst color ever that never worked on anything.
Jade?
Yeah, the old jade green,
That's like cancer.
Yeah, dude. God,
horrible.
I hated that shit. Now you have, like, 15 different shades of green, it's pretty cool. I definitely dig it. So how long? So was the Yushin class? Was it a one-on-one class or was it a group type thing?
It was a group class. Yeah, it was a 3-day like functional class where first day was doing prep, and he pretty much makes everything from scratch. He doesn't really use any pre-made tubing or anything of that nature. So first day was like back stacks and prep work and showing how to do some awesome back stacks, and then the second day using those back stacks to make wig labs and sections, and then the third day put together like a sweet mini tube with a marble, one of the thick marbles on the back. So it was kind of like a stage process step class, and in between that he would do other little things depending here and there and that. I think he did a Filocello that was like a 5.5 hour demo. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then the last day was a marble class. Unfortunately, I got sick one of those days and was missed like half of a day because I wasn't feeling well. But regardless, got a huge amount of knowledge from it. Just really helped to take it to the next level, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, that's all it takes. Because, like, myself personally, I never really took any classes. Like, I did an apprenticeship, and when I first got my foundation going with an artist from the Renaissance Festival, and it was like 6 months of shopkeep, and then that led into 6 months of torch work, which I learned pendants and beads and jewelry and whatever. But then, like, I spent about 3 months with this guy Daniel Sharp up in Georgia, down in his basement, doing prep work, wrap and rake stuff, and just, basically I was prepping all his blanks for him, and then, like, he'd shape them out and make bubblers and whatever, and then it got to a point where, like, every fifth point that I decorated, I would then shape out, and then he would make it functional to just kind of go through the process of it. But then, like, from there on out, it was all come home, get my stuff, and set up, and then, like, figure this shit out on my own. And just back in, I think it was January, this year, I took my first actual, like you're saying, like, class-wise, with Steve Sislove and Dan Coyle. And it was the same thing, dude. It was like, it wasn't a hands-on class. It was like, these guys were like, what do you guys want to learn? And over 2 days, and I mean, I'm talking like 11 in the morning till 2 and 3 in the morning, they worked on stuff, and they went over every single thing that we wanted to cover and more. Totally humble guys. We hung out with them, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I had Dan on the show and Steve on the show also. But it was amazing, like you're saying, dude. It was like amazing. Like I was able to take all the shit that I've learned and all the techniques that I've learned, and then like threw it out the window with the baby in the bathwater kind of idea, and completely reevaluated what I was doing. And for one, it showed me and gave me confidence in what I was doing already. But then it also gave me confidence that I can then now take this knowledge I just saw and learned, and then evolve with it. And, it's amazing how, one little small thing, man, it's all it takes is to really fine-tune and clean up your work. Now, if you're new and you're watching these guys, doing some stuff that you've never even heard about before, it might be a little bit different, if you don't have a good foundation. But for, like, yourself and myself here, it's like, we have this background, and then you get this extensive class, and it's like, it's like the old dog, new trick kind of thing, and then it wakes you up, and it's like, holy shit, I have this whole new area, it's just endless. And that's one of the things about glass that I love, man. It's like, it's beyond the sky being the limit. It's like the universe is the limit. It's like there's just anything and everything nowadays we can do with glass. Looking at like Banjo and some of these guys that are doing network stuff, and like it's fascinating to see where things have evolved, going from Snodgrass and the color changing pipe. I mean, even Bastrom, like I remember seeing a Sherlock he had made that was like my buddy Daniel actually taught me the basics. He had a Sherlock, and it was like this mountain scene that had trees on it, and this little snowboarder jumping out of the trees, and like at the bottom of it was like this little deer, like really crazy.
My favorite piece that I had was the snowboarder piece.
Right? Like super fucking detail. Like holy, like, and this is like, almost 20 years ago. Like how in the hell did this guy do this? And now you see him on Instagram posting stuff that he's doing now. It's like he's still in the game, you know? It's cool. It's cool to see the process and see these guys that started and are now evolving as we evolve. You know, I mean, I know Sodgrass is still doing skulls and stuff, but he's also evolving with the technology. So it's,
absolutely, bro. They're doing these giant, handheld skulls that take 3 to 4 people to execute.
Yeah,
now
exactly.
in Boro, with the furnace and stuff. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And the age he is and the inspiration he still brings to the game, bro, is epic.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It is fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Just a little history there. For those that don't know, Bob Batcham read a National Geographic on Sherlock, and in '94 he pushed the first flat mouthpiece full bend color changer Sherlock, and Cameron was the inventor of the first one-piece bubbler, and that was like '94 as well. Cameron and Snotty with the torch that. With the torch Dan K brought out, they had done other one-piece bubblers on like a national with an 8-hole tip, but the Carlisle really changed the game for a lot of people. Like you're saying, the technology, just how everything evolves, bro. From the basic hand torches and hand tools and colors to the, more scientific torches to the colors that are more focused towards the creative lamp workers to the scientific world. Us bringing ground joints over from the scientific world into the functional world. There was a time where I used to say glass was limited to what you could do with glass. Now I would say 10 years later that glass is limitless.
Mm-hmm. Completely.
And that's just my opinion. But 21 years on and off the torch, I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I think it's fact. I mean, look at the MIT video this guys just posted where they're using a freaking glass printer to create vessels.
Yeah, the 3D printer with glass. Yeah, but that's
awesome.
Yeah.
Like I saw that, and then they put the lighting over there, and you can see like just the lighting effects that these things make. It's like, what's next? I mean, it's fascinating. Next thing they know, they're making rigs and shit with those printers, or something crazy.
Yeah.
It's just
there was a guy like 2 or 3 years ago that drug this crazy contraption out to like the Sahara Desert and filled it with sand. Had this giant magnifying glass on top, and he was kind of 3D printing glass with sand. So the sun would superheat the sand through the magnifying glass, and layers and layers and layers, he would fuse the sand together and then end up with this crazy kinetic type sculpture out of fused sand. And but it's awesome to see what the MIT guys did with the actual technology and the computer science and just the way the world is kind of going.
Yeah,
it's kind of scary.
Yeah,
but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's true, man. Yeah, actually, I'll put a link on the on this episode with the MIT video for those of that out there that haven't seen it yet. It's pretty neat stuff. Yeah. So to kind of, so at what point in time did like from going from Oregon back home? Did you stop along the way at all anywhere to like in the Arkansas, Kansas area to blow glass along the way home, or did you just jet set all the way home?
Yeah, we just did the red eye all the way home. Got home. It was probably about a month till I had my studio set up. I had to clean out this room, put in ventilation. Ventilation was key. It was like the first thing I was taught. Like, build your ventilation and build your shop around your ventilation. Don't build your shop and then throw in some ventilation. So the ventilation took a little while to put in. So pretty much like the fall of '95, I would say October, November, we were blowing glass on the East Coast and then doing fish tour. Because Jerry had already died, so the dead tour wasn't there anymore, and the scene was underground. Nobody, if you went out to an art or craft show or trade show and told people you blew glass, the first thing they said was you make pipes and snob you off, so it wasn't really a respected, trade. And up until recently, it hasn't been.
Yeah, dude, I've been to locally here. We've got some soft glass guys, furnace workers, and for years and years and years, I've always gone to the shows and made sure I went up to them and introduced myself and shook their hand, and so they knew who I was. But then we had a cheese and wine gathering one night for an opening at a gallery, and I just mentioned I was a lamp worker, and immediately it was the stigma of he makes pipes, kind of bullshit, where I was, but I was also doing other things, sculpture stuff, and I had a bead pendant that I was wearing, which was nothing fancy at the time, but it was just the fact that these guys, automatically assumed that I was a pipe maker. Nowadays, it's oh, are you a pipe maker? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Right.
It's kind of funny.
More respect.
Yeah, which is good, man, because you're seeing like the Mickelsons and the Bandus and all those cats that are getting into making functional work as well, which is really helping the reputation and the seriousness that the world of art, I guess in general, is taking the pipe making functional glass world seriously. As because I look at the whole concept of being a glass artist, and there's so much more involved than just being an artist. I mean, there's engineering and science and math, and there's all this complex stuff that's involved. You can sit and make spoons all day long, but if you want to make something bigger, you got to figure out. I mean, it's a freaking chess match almost. I heard taking these classes. Like when I took the second class I took was with Joe Peters and Peter Muller, and
oh, wow.
Yeah, which is awesome, dude, because those guys have the soft glass background and have worked together for years, and then come into the the world of lamp working.
Come into lamp working, yeah.
And seeing
that was amazing.
Yeah, it was because I saw their tools. Like my main thing when I go watch people work is I watch their hands and I look at what tools and how their bench is set up, and they both had like this huge array of soft glass furnace tools. So I was like making notes and immediately went on to Mountain Glass and went to their website and bought like all the tools that they had that I needed to make sure I have. And now they're like my favorite tools I've ever used. I'm like, God, I wish I had these things 10 years ago, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I just started using jacks myself recently, bro, and it's just, it's a game changer.
Oh, total game changer.
The reamers and all that nonsense, not that they don't have their plates for certain applications, but, the jacks, I would agree.
Yeah. Recently, I got the bent. I think it's like a 60-degree bend tweezer, tungsten tweezers that they have out there, and I freaking love those things, man. It's like there's so much you can do with this little stupid tool. It's fascinating. Like I come up with things. I'm like, what can I use this for? Like I'm trying to find even new things I can use with it. So I was gonna go somewhere with that, and I don't remember where the hell it was, but I don't know. So. Yeah, dude. So, like, have you gotten yourself into any trade shows or out there in terms of like the marketing of your work wise? Not getting back into it.
Yeah, I have. Real quick, you were mentioning Bandu and those guys. I just did a collab with Bandu. Actually, I was out at AGI for like a week. It was the last AGI Art Glass Invitational out here in Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
60 glass blowers for a week, just sharing knowledge, demos, prep. So I guess I would consider that a class, but more just a bunch of glass blowers hanging out at glass camp. But anyway, I was fortunate enough to do a UV Jelly Belly collab with Bandu to Sherlock and the pendant step that we did. That's all UV that I'm pretty stoked about. So he's really the first, successful glass artist that I've actually been fortunate enough to do a collab with. I've met Ram a couple of times and respect and appreciate his work, but I haven't gotten to take a class or, being at the right place at the right time. I've done a couple collabs with Nate Mayers, Faith Nate. He's an awesome friend of mine, and I got some sections from Yushin and that we're working on, and from Kumi, Yoshinoro, from Kumi in Japan, who does all the intricate dot work, Filicello dot work. And so I'm working on some cool collabs with some different people. But to get back to your original question with trade shows, we did a handful of trade shows last year. Up until, I guess, kind of to give in a nutshell, came back from the west to the East Coast fall 95, and I moved glass pretty hard up until 01. We moved to Vermont. Up in 97, I was in northern Vermont, raging up New England to 01, 02 when 9/11 had closed down a little gallery and a business I had and the house I was trying to buy and stuff, and came back to PA and got into corporate America. And 2011, I started blowing glass again full time after managing and working in retail and corporate America. And so we did the trade shows because I had heard good things, saw the movie, Degenerate Art that Slinger did. And those guys are awesome guys. Good crew, by the way. We're close to them, about an hour away. And so I listened to some other glass blowers that were successful and took their advice. Trade shows are the place to go. So we, did a couple trade shows with shared some booths with some people that didn't really work out as far as the partners we had, which, it's just hard to bring two heads together that have never worked together at a major trade show and just agree on everything. So we had great response at the trade shows. We did Age mostly. Eric and Ellen are great people, and I like the fact that American Glass Expo, there's no half topless ladies trying to sell me detox drinks and blah, 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 you know, and which, hey, there's a place for all that, and people need to be able to get that for their stores, for their businesses, but for what I do, I just don't want to be, you know, it's just what I choose not to be around.
Yeah, exactly.
So Ager School, we did Vegas, I guess, in 2013, and that was probably the best show we did. Then we did Colorado in 2014. We were out there for the Cup and out there for Big Show, and then we had a booth at Age, which was the end of all three. And it was a great time. We met some cool people, but just didn't get the orders and returns we had hoped for. And then we did Age Baltimore, which was cool because it was close to home on the East Coast and met some East Coast stores and things of that nature. And I would say it's a great opportunity to get your name and your face out there to stores and galleries and retailers, which is, you know, I would say 50 to 75% of our main business and drive that helps us get our name out there and helps us get our work better known. And to be honest with you, they can reach a lot more people than we can individually, you know, in different parts of the country.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it's a great opportunity for people, just the money we put out for the booths at each of those events, flying out to Vegas, driving out to Colorado and back hotels for, you know, a week, blah, blah, blah. It's just monetarily, it just didn't work out for me as a small business owner. I wasn't getting the return I need. So.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I've always preached that, though, the idea of even if you just go one time to do it, that you're more or less you're paying to go advertise yourself in front of a large audience.
Sure,
you know,
sure.
It's kind of
companies spend millions of dollars to advertise. So if I spent $10,000 last year to advertise at 3 trade shows, that's cheap in the world of business.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's a tax write-off too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is nice.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. Now we are hoping to do Age again in January in Vegas. I'm on the returning artist waiting list for the Artist Arena, which I've been trying to get in for like two or three trade shows. We've always been in like the production area or this area, which just isn't quite catering to what our niche is, I guess. It's me and my wife that make everything in-house. We use only American and German supplies, and, you know, we make everything in-house. So I don't have a team we don't have a lot of production. I have, you know, maybe 2 or 3 items in a production line, and as far as functional stuff, you know, 2 or 3 items in the production line as far as art stuff. But other than that, everything is more or less, I'm not going to say one of a kind, but it's more unique. You know what I mean? Everything's a little different than that.
Yeah, for sure. I always call that stuff high-end production, even though you're not making, you know, 10 an hour, but you're still, you know, you may make 5 of the same looking thing, but they're just all a little different, but they're higher end.
Absolutely.
You know.
I would agree with that, yeah. We did Champs. We went to Champs in Atlantic City last year for my birthday. That was cool. I mean, I met some cool people and reached out to some awesome new galleries and stores and some new networking opportunities and connections, and got some cool glass from Golden Gate and Austin Black Crow tubing and some new Illuminati tubing they had a while ago. And so, I mean, to go back to the trade shows, I would definitely suggest to anybody in the industry, check them out. You know, it won't hurt. It will only help. It just, in my equation, with, you know, we do a lot of direct sales, retail. It's just, you know, time, money. I just chose to focus elsewhere. That seems, you know, for my niche. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even if you just, you know, go by a hotel and just go out there, just, you know, because like I haven't done them myself yet, and I was thinking about this year of just going to it just to see the show itself, what it's all about. Go through the process without actually setting up and selling my glass.
Yeah, you just need a business card and a business credit card, bro, and you can register as an artist or as a buyer. I mean, and you know, hey, you can always use a new nail, or we can always use a new this or that. You know, so it's like you said, it's great. It's a great opportunity, and it's free as far as getting in. If you're just, you know, going, it's just the expenses of getting there at the hotel. But yeah, all you need is a business card and a credit card and a business credit card to, if I'm not mistaken, 99% of these trade shows and events to be able to get in.
Yeah. Right on. Good. That's good to know. And, you know, and also like the idea of doing like local craft shows and stuff too. Like they're not always monetarily beneficial, but it's always nice to be able to get it out in front of your local community as well. That, you know, to see, you know, as an artist and what you're doing, you know, obviously not necessarily bringing out functional stuff unless you're living out in like Colorado or something, but, you know, it's nice to be able to expose yourself. But, you know, like we had talked pre-interview that, you know, some of these higher end art shows are sometimes more expensive than going to a freaking trade show out in Vegas. And then your return is like nil to none even, you know, like you spend thousands of dollars and you may make like $50. on some things. And have you guys had that kind of experience with doing the local art shows?
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, it's important to get your name out there and educate the public about, glass and the craft and the trade, and that it's handmade, and this isn't mass-produced, and this isn't, made in a mold. This is, made by two hands, and blood, sweat, and tears created this, So I think it's important to access all demographics and the kind of, for lack of a better word, crossover. I started doing hats recently with John Gala, who's a pretty well-known UV and glow-in-the-dark hat maker out of Jersey, and we started doing some collabs with that. So that's a whole new demographic and market that's not necessarily functional, but it's still wearable art, I guess I would call it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and I do some awesome Christmas ornaments, some themed Christmas ornaments I've been doing for the last 10 years over the holiday, and they usually, sustain us for the holiday season. So, yeah, I mean, it's important to get out wherever and whenever you can, I think, personally. I was just talking to a friend the other day who came to my shop, first time he was in a glass shop, and, you could see the stars in his eyes and the bewilderment and wow, and you're embossed, and this looks great, and I was like, yeah, it's awesome, but you get out of it what you put into it. Next week we're going up to the Pipe Plastic in Vermont, and in May, between hotel rooms and travel, it's it's like $1,500. I'm not in the Pipe Classic, but I need to go network with those people. I need to get my face out there. I'm taking a case of glass up the full tank in Vermont, which I've been dealing with them since 97, but hadn't in a number of years. So it's awesome to be welcomed back into one of the first, galleries in Vermont that really kind of propelled, the glass and help promote the glass scene, for years.
Yeah.
So, it's important just to get out there and to meet people and shake hands and let people know who you are, because I think in this day and age, there's a lot of people out there, and unfortunately there's some charlatans in our industry, and it's important to, I think, get that face time with some people so they can genuinely understand and know and meet who you are as an artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So. Yeah, especially now with the social media that's going on. It's easy to say, you've got 4,000 Facebook friends, but really you only have maybe 50 that are actually friends. So
right.
To actually be able to get out there and expose yourself and become friends with these people that you are friends on with social media. It's interesting. Absolutely. And then once you start networking, then you can start doing collabs and stuff, and and that's another thing too. I think is interesting with our industry is the whole collaboration concept. It seems like in other areas of art, there's not a lot of collaboration going on because it's not really that easy to collab, I guess. Where in the glass world, it's not. I can't say easy, but it is in a sense. It's like two people come together that are glass blowers.
It's easier.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
easier. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I also kind of think too, the collaboration concept, I personally feel needs to slow down a little bit and allow the artist individually to still find their way. Joe Peters, for instance, I'm finding where he's kind of he got his name out there, became himself, did a shitload of collabs for a couple of years, and now he's kind of gotten back to his individual style of finding his way with his next line that he's doing. He's doing these anemone rigs that he's doing, and they're freaking amazing. Even though he's still doing collabs on the side, but it's good to see the artist.
Do you see the orbits that he did recently? I think they're orbits, if I'm not mistaken. They're a mini tube with a thick marble in the middle that spins, bro. And I've seen a couple other people recently do that. But basically, the marble spins one of the heavy marbles in the middle of the neck of the mini tube, and you can spin the marble while you're up in the tube. It's pretty dope.
Hell yeah!
That's he's only done 2 or 3, maybe 4 of them. That's something really new that he's done solo style there out of the new Dream Lab that and the Nate has kind of formed recently.
Huh, interesting.
Out in Evergreen, Colorado.
Yeah.
So, he's a huge inspiration of mine, Joe Peters. We lived close to Philly, like I mentioned, in the Front Street Gallery out there, and they had a Joe Peters and Elbow show. And I've gone to 3 or 4 of their shows. They've all been awesome and great, but I was blown away by the Joe Peters show and Elbow show, bro. Blown away. And I've been to big show. I've been in Colorado and Vegas, and I've been to some big trade shows, and I was blown away by that show, bro. It was amazing.
Yeah,
inspiring, amazing, mind blowing. Wow, this is what we can do, and just limitless.
Yeah, man. When I took that class with him, just seeing him working, and it's interesting to see someone take simple concepts and techniques and then take that simplicity and make it look like it's completely so complex you can't figure this shit out. But when you dissect it and deconstruct it, it's like, well, really, that's actually pretty simple, but it comes from Joe Peters' brain, so it's not necessarily, simple, and not everybody can do it. And like you're saying, like Joe's been an influence on my work for a long. Him and Peter Muller. So to have both those guys working together and taking a class from him was phenomenal. Seeing those guys go back and forth and really talking and discussing and figuring. Like same with the Coyle and Steve Sizlove class too. Seeing the connection and these guys that for instance with the Coyle and Steve, it was their first time, I guess, working together in a studio where they've done mail collabs and whatever else, but seeing these guys like really come together and brainstorm and draw pictures. And Joe does that. Like I always tell people, like, it's so important to really put your ideas on. If you can't even draw a stick figure, try and figure it out. Put your shit on paper, draw a diagram, try to figure it out. And seeing, before they started even turning the torch on to blow glass, him and Peter sat down. They talked about what they're going to make. Joe did some sketches. Peter fine-tuned the details. And then they had the drawings on the bench in front of us so we can see what they were going to be making. And we were all like, it was
a diagram. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep you on point. Keep you focused. Yeah, I really respect a lot of other artists that come into this industry with a different mindset or a different mentality, and then they get into glass, like Joe and Peter with their soft glass mentality, and other graphic artists, and that with all the screen printing and all the ink printing and all the sandblasting, and just other people, other mediums, and other artists that have found glass and what they bring to it. I mean, me myself personally, I find we get complacent with our old school teachings. I still do a lot of traditional shapes, the Sherlocks, the hammers, the sidecars. I try and mix it up with the new colors, new styles, new techniques, but I still have that traditional mindset, and I highly respect and look up to and admire, somebody who can come into this industry with, a totally different outlook and apply glass to that and come up with new and wonderful creations, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Like I've always appreciated professional skate artists and skateboarders and stuff, and seeing like you, Sheen, like seeing these guys that are out there, tearing it up on a freaking skate park, and then they go in the studio and they tear it up in the studio with that same level of creativity. And it's just like I do a lot of teaching. My wife's an art teacher, so I do the Great American Teach-In every year, and that's one of the things I tell the kids. It's like, look at professional skateboarders. It's like you don't see these guys falling and breaking their arms and hurting themselves. All you see is like Tony Hawk finishing that 900, and you have no idea it took him years to get to the point where he could actually try to even try it, much less actually go through after falling so many freaking times. Like in Degenerate Art, Eugene, there's a part of Eugene on there where he's like trying to get this thing down and over and over and over, and eventually he lands it. It's like, and that's what it's all about with the glass. I mean, it's like so many times where you go through and shit breaks and cracks and you burn yourself and you cut yourself and you get pissed off and you throw it across the room and you cussing and everything else, and then you come back the next day with a fresh mind and it's like fucking butter, and it works out exactly the way you wanted it to. But it takes all that frustration to go through it. And it's like,
yeah, absolutely.
It takes it, and it's, as an entrepreneur, for one, it's a roller coaster. As an entrepreneur, as a glass artist, it's like 10 times worse. Like I've always said,
it's like a roller coaster without a seatbelt.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Better hold on. You better hold on.
Yeah, and your hair's on fire at the same time. Covered in kerosene.
Nothing good. Yeah, like you said, bro. Nothing good comes easy. Any of the dedicated arts to become proficient or even strive for perfection in any medium or any art or any trade or craft or any dedication, it takes hard dedication, bro. Like you were saying with skateboarding and with the lamp working, it's years and years of practice and dedication to get to that point. But it's so rewarding when you find that balance where all that practice comes to fruition and you're able to execute or achieve what you've been practicing for so long. It's just it validates it, and pushes you further to try the next thing.
Yeah,
at least for me personally.
Yeah, it's so rewarding, man. Like it's when you like you're like, I think I see it, but I can't quite see it, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, there it is, and it's like you get goosebumps and you want to do backflips, all at the same time. It's interesting. Like I couldn't imagine if like Picasso or Da Vinci or Dali were glass blowers. Like Da Vinci would have been cutting off more than just his ear, or Van Gogh, whoever the hell would cut his ear off, But I'm saying, like, these guys would have been fucking hanging themselves in the studios. They can just throw some gesso on a painting and start over. They can't just do that with glass. They're like, it's I can't imagine. So, yeah, we're definitely
absolutely. I would agree. It's interesting how one can, that light bulb moment can happen, like you said, and it just all kind of comes together. Hours make powers, they say, Mr. Lee says. So I would agree with that. The more you practice, the more you put into it, the more you focus and just try again. Like you said, one day you'll have that light bulb moment and it'll validate it. It's kind of interesting, like we were talking before with like self-taught class artists, and then you take a class, and then it's interesting and fun and growing to work through those problems yourself that may take you 6 months or a year to figure it out if you're just a self-taught blower. But I think, like we mentioned, that one class or that one video online or that one meeting with that glass blower at that one event that was able to explain it or just show it in a different way where you understood it. It's the power of this industry to teach and show and share with each other that we didn't have the capability, the opportunity, or the ability to years ago. Cameron Tower, my mentor, says each one teach one, and I would agree. That's the mentality we see today. That's awesome. There used to be a glass curtain, they used to call it, where glass was very secret and techniques were very secret, and it was hard to, just because you knew a glass blower didn't mean you would be welcomed into the shop, and a lot of people were scared that we would steal ideas and things of that nature, and other people would take ideas and whatever. And now that mentality has kind of changed 360, and I think it's helped the industry grow a lot more than maybe it kind of held it back before, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I agree. I find too, though, what I think is the most important part of that is that if you are new, that you shouldn't just assume that someone's going to show you something, that you almost have to earn it. You can't just have like this, I deserve it because I'm a glass blower. Like, you got to earn that shit. Like, I mean, there's so many,
respect is earned, and I would agree. Yeah, it's not given.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of goes back to last night. I just recently got a new studio set up, and my brother now is working with me, and he's been behind the torch for, I want to say, almost 5 years now, and it's mind blowing to see. He's 23 now, and it's interesting to see like the stuff he's getting paid more for his pieces than I am, kind of thing.
Sure, his progression.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say it's because I showed him, got him started, but I gave him a good foundation. But he's busted his ass and like took classes and spent a shitload of money on learning these techniques, and he's found his way. But like I'm in the middle of making this custom, and I was at a point to where I had a couple different, because you know how it is. There's like 4 or 5 different ways of getting from A to Z. And we sat last night, got our heads on straight and spent about 30 minutes drawing pictures and brainstorming on from the A to Z process for me to finish this piece that I'm going to go finish here after we talk. And then like out of the nowhere, he's like, I got to show you this right now. And so like he went and showed me this whole new concept, because I said the word double bubbler, which you really don't see those anymore, but he showed me this whole new thing I never even thought about. That was a technique on doing a middle can for a double bub. Just using 2 pieces of glass instead of using 3 as like a downstem kind of thing. And it was like complete mind blowing. And it was like I couldn't stop thinking about all the different things and pieces I could make using that technique. Getting into Klein seals and like all the other scientific stuff. But it was neat, because he's only been behind the torch for so long, but has this amazing energy and drive and creativity and wanting and
perspective.
And being so excited to like be like, dude, I got to show you this right now. Kind of thing. Like, I'm like, show me. I'm going to turn my torch off. I'm going to come over here and you're going to show me, kind of thing. So it's pretty cool to see that. But like you're saying, dude, like when I started, man, a couple guys here in the town locally that were trying to get me to help them out, and I didn't really have necessarily a good business acumen at the time, and we all kind of step on toes at points in times in our careers, but
we were all young. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. But
try and right our wrongs.
Yep. But it was still that same mentality. Like, I'm not going to show you anything because I'm afraid you're going to steal my ideas and you're going to become competition. Right. And then I had a buddy of mine. I was trying to figure out inside outs, and I kept burning my hand. Because my blowpipe was getting hot. I'm like, okay, what do I do? So he's like, well, just do this. And he took a wad of toilet paper and shoved it in the fucking mouth of the blowpipe.
Shoved it in the end.
Like,
even the pressure out.
Yeah, and created a vacuum and no more hot hands. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's all it took. You know what I mean? You know, like I was doing like decorating the outside and then cutting and flipping and like, you know, folding it inside out and all kind of crazy shit just to make inside out stuff. And it came out looking really cool. And I've actually thought about going back to some of those old techniques to where I'm at now and trying to, you know, that. But that's all it takes, man. It's like one person to show you one little thing, and it's like, man,
sure.
It just changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the drive and the creativity in this industry with certain individuals is amazing, bro. Like I was mentioning earlier, I went to AGI and it was like 60 glass blowers around. Adam Villarreal did a demo. JC Harold did a demo. Amazing stringer, pulling stringers out of stringers the size of hair, thickness, and drawing with that. Just mind-blowing, amazing, new eye-opening and awakening techniques that just, you know, further and broaden the horizons and my toolbox full of techniques and tools that I can now, you know, use to create something different, you know, and that's a beautiful thing, you know.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of that in other industries, you know, that at least I'm aware of, you know. So
do you find at times you still struggle with the whole production idea of like where we had back in the day, like, you know, crank out a shitload of pieces in a day to be able to survive? Like, do you still find yourself struggling with that at times ever, or are you past that at the point where like you're able to really focus on not having to make all of that kind of stuff anymore?
No, we still have our moments. We still, you know, I got to make 250 warnings right now for a store, and it's taking me a hell of a lot longer than it should because it's you know, I don't have my head around it. You know, I'm not motivated to make all that 250 of the same thing over and over and over again. I mix them up a little bit, but you know, it's back to that production mentality that, you know, I'm not going to say I ever get above or beyond, but it's you know, they're good fundamentals to go back upon and practice upon. But you know, anything in 250 or 500 gets daunting after a while.
Yeah. It's that whole make 10 a day for, you know, 2 weeks. Amongst everything else kind of deal.
But, yeah, I mean, we still have to do production work. I mean, unfortunately, or fortunately, you know, hey, glass is selling here and there. So it seems production work seems to be the bread and butter of the majority of shops on the East Coast. You still have head pieces that I would say it's 60-40, 40 production, 60, you know, where I do one of a kind, or like production headies or actually headies, I guess, to use kind of borrow your term.
Yep.
You know, where I'll make 4 hammers, make sections in one day and put them all together the next day. So, I mean, I'm still spending, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours on a hammer, which I probably shouldn't be, but I'm all about seals and holes. And if it's not perfect, I'll fuck it up trying to make it perfect and have to start all over again. It's still something, and 21 years later, I still struggle with, you know. I want to fix it. And sometimes you just got to let it do what it wants to do.
Yeah, man, that's the truth, dude. Like when I teach people glass, I'm like, once you try to manipulate and make the glass do what you want it to do, it's gonna break and cut and burn you every fucking time. You can, it's got like this.
It's gonna fold. It's not gonna. The shape's gonna get all fucked up. Whatever. You'll be left. Yeah, settle for happy instead of try and make best, because you probably won't be happy with it at all.
Yeah, man. Because a lot of times it's so much faster just to make a new one than it is to try to fix it. You know, kind of deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's frustrating that you've got 8, 10, 12 hours in something and it's just not right and you want to fix it, and there goes all that time out the window. It's, you know, I mean, hey, it's humbling. It's a growing process, but I won't tell you it doesn't suck.
Yeah,
you know, but that's the beauty of glass. You can make another one.
Yep, exactly. And usually it comes out better than the first one, which is awesome.
Yeah,
that's the best part about it.
I would agree.
So being in Philly, or I guess Pennsylvania, really, were you in the game when the Operation Pipe Dreams, the whole thing went down?
Kind of why I got out of it. I personally wasn't affected or affiliated with any of those individuals that got harassed, but it was real close to home. We had gone on the road in 2001 down to think about relocating to Asheville, North Carolina, and I couldn't give glass away. Stores would not buy glass. They were afraid any day that the cops would come in and take all their inventory. The industry really kind of crumbled, for lack of a better word, when that happened. I definitely remember seeing it on TV, hearing about it, and it being talked about a lot. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to, you know, all go to jail for making glass that we could smoke out of? You know, we're not making guns. We're not making bombs. We're, you know, the next generation trying to support ourselves with a trade and a craft and trying to build a business. Why are we being vilified and demonized? You know, but it was scary enough that the whole Operation Pipe Dreams happened, and then right after that with 9/11, I had a small craft gallery hippie shop up in Newport, Vermont, right near JP. And between 9/11 and Pipe Dreams, I had to shut down my business and relocate from a house at 26. I was trying to buy a house and had a business, and I had to reevaluate, for lack of a better word, because of all that lack of business, the lack of people wanting to buy glass, the lack of people willing to take a risk and go to jail for glass. So it definitely hit hard. And for me personally, even though I wasn't directly affected, I have friends who were and know people who were. But fortunately, I didn't get a letter from the Attorney General, but it definitely pretty much ended business at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it was some scary times, and I'm so glad when Slinger did the Degenerate Art video that he, that was a part of it. So those that aren't involved in our community can really see, as an artist community, and all of a sudden the government steps in and they're like, "Oh no, you can't do this," and it just took one concerned mom who was a government official or whatever the hell the foundation of that whole thing started, to make the ball roll to where we were all like, what the fuck are we going to do now? I mean, there were so many shot glasses and dildos being slung around the country at one point in time. It's like,
right.
What do we do?
What was going on then? I'm sure some Contra deal was going on, or some sort of war was going on. It's like, why are they wasting time on us?
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
I agree.
So
it was scary times,
So being in Pennsylvania now, I mean, because I know there's a couple states out there that are still like the laws are still really strict. Like I think it's like
federally though, it's still technically illegal to make.
It is.
What they would consider drug paraphernalia. I make everything and anything out of glass. So I would say. My foundation started as a pipe maker, but now I'm a glass blower. I mean, I make if you want to buy a pipe and tie a string to it and call it your dog, I don't care. It's what I choose to make out of art because, if someone chooses to use it or not, they can still appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I preach, bros. Don't just do that. Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, and
now, PA, it's a little conservative here, definitely. A little conservative mentalities. You have your Bible Belt and your conservative areas all over the country. But I think with the education of the masses, with the benefits of the medical cannabis, that there's a lot of benefits that can be had from it instead of it being villainized or demonized, vilified or demonized. And so slowly, I think attitudes are changing. My dad, who's 94 and a World War II vet, he can appreciate, when I show him a piece for $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, that it's art. That can be used and is functional, that it's not necessarily a pipe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The blinders are off, for lack of a better word, that, it's accepted as art now because it's just not a $50 spoon anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, they're out there, but that's not, I would like to think that's not what the majority of people think when they think of glass anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're not making crack pipes.
Right, yeah. I mean, I remember in 94, I was at the Saturday market in Eugene showing somebody a dread bead, and I dropped it and it broke, and the old man next to me, "Oh, you dropped your pipe and broke your pipe." I said, "Man, it was a bead I was showing my friend. It's not a pipe, And so that attitude nowadays definitely changed a little bit, but I remember that moment vividly, and I think we've been fighting that my whole career on and off. That mentality. But you can't educate everybody. All you can do is do your best to try, and you can't change anybody's minds. You can just hopefully open them up to it, and maybe they'll change their opinion if they are closed-minded enough to want to look at anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Yeah, I mean, PA is cool. We got a cool scene going on in Philly. There's a lot of art galleries. You got Piper's Row with Elbow, Matt, kind of a friend of mine, and Germ, know him a little bit, and Slinger and Coil and all those, and Jobs and all those guys are out there. So I think they're helping to put PA on the map for glass, and just the art scenes in most of the towns around here is being revitalized. So unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of, I think everywhere, the art's being taken away from the schools and the infrastructure because the government just doesn't know how to manage their money properly, and so I think people are starting to realize we're losing that, and they're starting to embrace the arts again, because technology's kind of taking over, and we're losing some of our core culture and values, I think, personally.
Yeah, I agree.
And I
Absolutely.
think art and glass is part of that culture. I mean, art's part of every culture, and I don't know. Times are changing.
Yeah, especially back like in the industrial age in this country when, like the Midwest was like the home of glass, like Ohio especially was like a huge area for glass blowing, between the Blinkos and
glass and things.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy. And then you see, there's slowly as the economy changes and things go overseas and whatever else, like these companies are slowly going out of business. But then there's this new wave of glass coming in, like when Chihuly came back and started Pilchuck and really got the whole home studio movement going, and it's cool to see the evolution from the 60s into 70s into where we are now here almost 45, 50, 60 years later. And with technology and everything else, it's just like it's like I don't know if you had your hands on it back in the old uranium glass that was out back in the day, back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and the glow stuff that first came out that was like, this stuff kind of sucks, but now it's like the glow glass is out there now, and it's like, man, this shit's badass,
we've been messing with uranium since like 97, 98. Recently, that's like what I've been started to kind of do is blend my old school color changing style with some UV, so I call it like color changing UV. So it still changes colors like the old school stuff in a new school pattern or style or functional, piece. But then you hit it with a black light, it's a whole other world. And also I've been doing black light and glow, so like you hit it with the black light, it glows UV, and then you turn the light off, it has like an afterglow.
Heck
so
yeah.
That's something I've been working hard on for the last 2 years or so, and just recently I would agree the last 6 months to a year with all the new UV palette and UV reactive and UV reflective and not so UV reactive glass out there and everything. It's cool to see all the changes and all the new products and material that we can use to, make even more awesome creations that just are a whole other world. Some people, it's hype, I guess, to some people, but, everybody's had at one point in time in their life a black light coaster in their room with a black light, so it's just kind of like everything makes a full circle or evolve. The ebb and flow is coming back in a different way.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And I'm going to jump on it. I got some kind of marketing things I'm working on myself for some products I'm going to be releasing here at the first of the year that has to do with all that black light fun stuff, because everybody's going to start getting into having black light dab rooms and everything else in the process. It's
interesting.
When you see like where everybody's going with it, like it's neat to see the black light technology just alone. The small, like I guess it's a dental flashlight that is a black light flashlight. And my brother, he when he does these shows, he always has his little flashlight out, and he's like hitting his pieces on the table with the black light, so people can see as they walk by that the shit glows. Yeah. And it's huge. Yeah. It's a great sales technique. It's neat to see it.
They're cheap to buy too. You can buy a pack of like 5 black light flashlights for like $20. So like what I do is if you buy I'm not going to give you a $5 flashlight with $20 piece, but if you buy a decent piece that is UV reactive, I'll throw in a black light flashlight. You can also get the little keychain ones. I carry one on my keychain, and so it's becoming more commonplace. I mean, people are like, I don't want to carry another thing with me, but you carry a battery, you carry a torch, you carry a lighter, carry all your other crap with you. It's just another thing that adds to the mix, and if you don't like it, cool. If you do, well, that's awesome. And, not everybody has to like everything. That's the beauty of the world. It takes all kinds of crazy and wacky and wonderful things to make the world go round.
That's right.
And all kinds of people. So,
especially in this country.
Cool. I would agree.
Have you started? So have you gotten your?
No Facebook, no Facebook representatives.
Oh yeah, man.
The crazy world we live in.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So, TA's cool. It's easy to breathe. We got good food. We got hardworking Amish here, man. And we're central. I'm an hour and a half from Baltimore, an hour and a half from Philly. I'm pretty central to everything. So, cool. Mom and Dad are here, so that's why we're here. There's definitely other places in the country I prefer to be, but, I'm here for my parents. They helped me, grow up and be the person I am today, so I feel, a responsibility to help them and give back to them because they're not able or capable anymore at this point in time.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love to hear that shit. That's amazing. That's, I wish the more people in our society had that mentality. Yeah. Whether they're giving back to their
not
parents.
everybody's parents were great, I mean, I had great parents,
this is
and
true.
I was fortunate enough, but they're still, regardless, are the people that brought you onto this earth, so there should be some level of respect there, I think. But
Yeah, whether it's your parents
I
or...
understand if there's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree, man. So you want to talk a little business here? Get into some
Sure. Like we were saying earlier, we did the trade shows a little bit, and then I started. Now we do a lot of like festivals and like bluegrass, jam band, and like brewery festivals and stuff like that, and try and get out to the public directly instead of having somebody always resale my work. I still deal with a lot of stores wholesale. Primal's a big store I deal with here. They got a store in Springfield, Pennsylvania, Bethlehem, PA. A couple in Jersey, just Primal on Instagram, and they got some awesome, like a glass museum, bro. Like I would say they have one of the, as far as on the East Coast, you want to be wowed by some amazing glass. Go check out Primal.
Oh yeah.
Next time you're one of their areas or locations, but so I do deal with some stores as far as wholesale work and things of that nature. It's challenging as an individual to support myself on wholesale, I find, with the time, the hours, the overhead of a studio and a house and things of that nature. In my business equation that I need to survive every month, I try and find a balance with wholesale and retail direct to the customer. I try and keep my prices the same so that, there's no arguments or anything of that nature, that everybody feels like they got a fair piece for a fair price, and there's no arguments with, $5 or $10 difference here. As far as I try and police that, it's ultimately up to the store to abide by that. But as far as business, as far as my marketing and where I do most of my sales, I would say it's, at the spring, summer, and fall festivals, a trade show maybe in the beginning, in the wintertime. Vegas always seems to be good in January or February, right at the beginning of the new year, and then the wholesale orders in between.
Heck yeah! So when you're doing your books and stuff, like do you like keep track of all your stuff, all your expenses, in and outs, and all your accounting stuff yourself, or do you have an accountant that does that for you?
I do have an accountant. I got an accountant about 4 years ago. I've been paying taxes on my business for the last four and a half years, ever since I transitioned over from working in corporate America. I think that's important. Uncle Sam wants their money, and I just think as a business owner and an entrepreneur, it's just, the right thing to do. It makes it easier for me to have an accountant where I can kind of keep track of my stuff quarterly, and then I can go give it to her, and she helps me navigate the laws and the things I can write off and should write off and things I shouldn't, and just kind of some guidance there. It's a cheap way to get some great knowledge and keep myself at least as positive as I can with the bureaucratic system that we need to do as far as business. So. Yeah, I think an accountant's a great idea. It's not. I pay, I think, like $250 a year. I'm lucky. We live in a area where there's still Mennonites and Amish that you can find, a little mom and pop place that still has a decent, rate and value and really works hard for your money. And,
that's the way to go about it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Because the H&R Blocks and the bigger corporation companies, like. I tell everybody to avoid those people. Don't go to them for your small business stuff. Go find a local person who's an accountant or CPA that deals with small businesses, because they're going to be more knowledgeable in a sense too, in terms of the stuff
Absolutely.
that of what your needs are, instead of being this overall generalized bullshit. Because as a small business owner and an artist, like we talked before, it's like it's so easy to run a business and be on top of your stuff, keep your books in line and check. But it's also very easy to overcomplicate it too. And if you have someone that, like you're saying, that has guidance that can assist you, because people don't realize, like when you drive your car to a shop to go to make a delivery, keep track of your mileage. You have depreciation on your vehicle every year. That's a tax write-off. If you drive to your friend's house, you can't keep track of that mileage. Like I work with Disney, and my one way to Disney is like 95 miles one way. And 2 years ago, I was doing my taxes, and I was like, well, because I had used to use my depreciation on my vehicle. And so I was going to file my car, and it was going to save me I think it was like $4,000 or something like that if I was able to use that calculation for my back and forth to work. But because I was working
for mileage,
but because I was working for somebody else, I couldn't take that deduction. If it was for me making deliveries, then I could. It's an interesting thing, but to know that, to have somebody hold your hand and guide you through that, not only is it going to save you from getting audited, but it's also going to save you potentially a lot of money in the end too.
Absolutely, yeah, it'll save you all the way around. Yeah, I'm fortunate enough that my brother's been in the car business for a number of years, so I have a conversion van that I use my work vehicle, and then we have my wife's personal vehicle that we use for running errands or whatever. So
cool. I'm
fortunate enough to have dedicated one vehicle just to work, just to haul an oxygen tank. We use it when we go to vendor festivals. I mean, so it's a little easier for me to keep track of mileage with that, but I agree 100%. It's so important and so easy to, just have this local individual guide you. I mean, heck, with nowadays technology, just Google it. Local small business, CPA, accountant, taxes for small business, and, look for don't look for the big names, just look a couple down and, make a call and tell them what you do and see if they can help you. And you'd be surprised with things you can use in your business to help you that you can grow and write things off and pay taxes, and it can be beneficial all the way around if you know how to do it right, But like you said, it's so easy to overcomplicate it and feel overburdened and overwhelmed with it. I'm still... two things I lack in my, character defects are time management and organization. So unfortunately, I'm not as organized as I would like to be. But, as long as I'm able to keep all my receipts in a file box and, I try and do them quarterly so it doesn't get out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it manageable, and it allows me to grow and have a house and support my family as a business and hopefully, continue to build an empire. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not affiliated with them, or they're not a sponsor, but I always talk about this. I use an app called FreshBooks. It's an online cloud accountant, and it makes it really easy to...
FreshBooks?
Yeah, FreshBooks. Yeah, FreshBooks.
Okay, yeah, we used QuickBooks for a while, but, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. The QuickBooks is nice, but I find QuickBooks... has so much on there that we don't need that it's easy to get lost in the weeds, Where with
overcomplicates it.
Yeah, big time. Where like the FreshBooks thing, it's a real basic invoicing system. So you put your invoice in there, you can categorize what the items are and stuff, and then it does all the stuff for you. But you can also link it to your bank account if you have a separate checking account for your business, so you can then import all your expenses, and it does everything for you. It categorizes your expenses into like whether it was like dining or expenses for materials. You can even change the categories and stuff yourself, and then it gives you a pie chart. It gives you profit and loss statements. It also gives you a tax estimate, the whole 9 yards. And the limitation with it is that I think I paid $30 a month for the one that I'm using. And they have a thing that's set up to where you can have active customers. So, like, if you have a distributor that you sell to all the time, that person, or a specific smoke shop, or even that's a regular customer, you can keep them as an active client. But if you have, like, a sale that's just like a out-of-the-blue thing, you can delete that customer and put them in an inactive file, but they still keeps all their information there. I think it limits you to like 20 active customers at a time. But what I started doing was I created a generic customer in there, because it also requires you to put an email in there for the customer, because you can actually email them the bill, and then they can pay the bill themselves. They can pay it with the PayPal or a debit card or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Which is awesome. Yeah. So, but the nice thing is I do.
Sounds like it really streamlines the process.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, it really simplifies it. But by creating the generic one for myself, because my problem is I'll get orders in, and because of all the different areas of communication nowadays between the Kicks and Instagrams and Facebooks and text and emails and smoke signals and handwritten letters and everything else, it's hard to keep track of everything. So I immediately go into this thing and I open up my generic client and I put the order in, and I'll put a little note, and there's like a note box you can put. So I'll put the actual customer's name in the note box, and then I print the receipt, and then I have the receipt on my income stuff. And it's really helped me stay organized and on top of stuff where I haven't, because in the past where there's been like, man, I've been waiting three months now. I'm like, oh man, shit. I honestly forgot you ordered this. I wasn't paid for it or anything, but I hate that shit,
Yeah.
It hasn't happened in a long damn time, but it has happened in the past. So I had to take care of that to make sure it never happened again. And I came across this FreshBooks from another show I listened to. And but there's a couple different variations of that out there that are, you can use them. There's like, I think Intuit has a couple different variations. Like there's but it's the way to go, because it's nice because it's portable. You can have it on your phone or on a tablet or on your computer. and it's fully accessible, so you can go to shows and keep track of all your shit. Just as really simple ways of keeping stuff. Like I have
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, dude, I recommend it to anybody. I would love to bring him on as a sponsor with as much as I talk about it. But whatever. But like
I mean, that sounds like just you have all your invoices that will help your tracking of your business. It will also help your customer service, your order return, the whole 9 yards. I mean, to kind of touch on some other subjects like customer service and quality control are like two very, very important things in my mind that we try and treat every customer with the highest respect and appreciation, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here as an individual being able to run my business and support my business. So I like that idea where you can keep track of your orders, you can keep track of your expenses. It's a friendly reminder on your bench. Hey, we got to call these guys today to let them know we're finishing up the order, getting ready to pack it out. It's just that's awesome advice. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Anytime, absolutely. Yeah, man, I'm gonna with our website, we're gonna have a whole list of links of resources and things that you can use to simplify, this kind of stuff. I'm even gonna have some PDF forms to download just to keep track of, real simple, write down your ins and outs for the week. Or one of the things I preach a lot too, and I don't know if you do this yourself, but like we all have our knockoff buckets on our bench, for scraps and stuff, and I keep all that shit and I try to, if not weekly, once a month, depending on how fast I fill it up. I know how much my bucket weighs, and I've written that number down, and then I weigh my bucket before I throw it out, and all that glass in that bucket's a tax write-off. I mean, it's all loss and waste. And it's an easy way to keep track of that kind of stuff, because we're limited to a certain amount every year we can write off. But
we can write off, correct?
But if you can get to that number, go ahead and get to that number. I mean, if it's a real number, go ahead and get there. So I have
Is it different in every state? I'm not aware if it's different in each state, or is it
I don't know,
sure,
honestly.
I know the laws apply differently in each state, but I think it's federal tax.
Yeah, and I think with the federal thing, because with like being in Florida, we don't have a state sales tax. I mean, we don't have a state tax. We have sales tax, but not the state tax. At the end of every year, which is why a lot of millionaires move to Florida. But so I think it's a federal, IRS thing. But, anytime something breaks, just keep track of all that shit. I have a bucket in my studio, which I hate seeing it because it's like my graveyard, more or less, for the year. But it's a pile of shit in there, and that's either stuff I can reuse potentially, or if it's going to go in the garbage, I know I can go through it and weigh it out. And I'll do like, I have...
That's brilliant.
And, if you write down like a basic average for what clear would cost you or what your color cost you, and do like a 75-25 ratio of clear to color or whatever... That way you have somewhat of a number, because
that's your waste of color.
It's shit's expensive, man. And when you go see your accountant,
absolutely,
all that stuff's written down. Because when you go, the main thing you pay for when you go see an accountant, you pay for their time. So if you're completely unorganized, it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars to have an accountant go through and file your taxes. If you're on point and organized, and you give them their stuff, not only are they going to smile at you and thank you, but they're also not going to charge you an arm and a fucking leg to do your taxes for you.
And you make their job easier. So I would agree. Yeah, with the 4 years of me doing this, it's definitely been a learning process. So I would agree. The more organized and more numbers and categories I have itemized and written down, the easier her job is, and the more beneficial it is to me. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you use your space as a write-off where you're working, or do you not calculate that?
Do I use my what? I'm sorry.
Your studio space? Do you calculate that?
Yeah, I have a separate building that's detached from my property. I rent now, so it's actually, the house is one price. There's an added price to be able to rent the barn out back, so it's kind of nice. It's already itemized that way. So we do that. Of course, the electric is still connected, so we have to do a ratio of that. We moved in here and opened the shop up immediately, so I was kind of able to. It took about a month, so I was able to see average usage without and with, and we kind of have an equation, I guess, that we use to kind of get to that. The realistic percentage that we can write off and keep track of for our electric use.
Heck yeah.
Keep all my oxygen and propane. Obviously, that's all I use for the shop. And like I said earlier, I use the one vehicle exclusively for business and work. So I kind of have tried to, I guess, organize or minimize the crossover to make it easier for me to track it.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes total sense. And even if you use your own car, just make a little log and get a small notebook and just keep it in your glove box.
Yeah. keep it in the box. Yeah, write your mileage down from A to Z, and as far as I know in PA, I'm able to write either my mileage off or my expenses for the vehicle, things of that nature. So where we're at, I get a better write-off with mileage than using my wife's vehicle and trying to keep track of it. It's just easier.
Yeah,
I learned that over time as well.
Yeah.
It's everything's a learning and growing process. But just trying to work smarter, not harder, I guess.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm 41, so I don't feel like I'm getting any younger. I have that youthful exuberance to create and blow glass and travel again, but I'm still 41. I got to remind myself of that sometimes. It takes a little longer to recover from an all-nighter.
Yep.
If I fail on the skateboard, it might take a week longer to be able to walk again, and things of that nature. So we're just trying. I hike a lot with the dog, and we eat a healthy lifestyle. I'm a pescatarian, so it's all like seafood and veggies. Me and my wife haven't eaten meat in years. We're vegetarians, but the dog is not.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to just live a good, healthy, productive, and positive life, man. And unfortunately, part of that is keep track of the business. But once you do it, once it becomes second place, it's easy. It's just like anything else that you make part of your routine.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of my show, dude. I preach is like consistency. Just be consistent. If you have to do it every single day to create that habit, like back in, I think it was in June. No, it was June I launched the show. Yeah, it was in July. I did a 30-day challenge. It was a pennant a day for 30 days just to create the habit of starting your day with a warm-up, not just jumping right on the torch and getting busy, to create the habit of warming up. And also by doing that, if you make a pennant a day, like I did the math, man, if you did a pennant a day for 30, every day, say you did it 300 days a year, it's $15,000 you can make if you sold it for $50 a piece.
Oh, look at Salt, bro.
I know.
He's a prime example
Holy
of that,
shit.
bro. He does a pod, he does his podcast, doesn't he? Or his pod
it's
or something of that
day.
nature, and it's pen in the day, bro. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge inspiration.
Man.
So,
he's
right there.
Yeah, Salt, I'm going to bring him on the show too, because he's not only a creative, awesome guy, but his business acumen and his way he thinks about things as a teacher also, he's changed a lot of things that are going on in this industry that for the better, and
oh, absolutely.
Like we've done the math. I'm not going to say numbers, but we've done the math, dude, on what he's doing. You don't even want to know. It's fucking, it's crazy. He's a young,
smart business model.
Man.
Like we mentioned, it's a smart business model, and it broadens it out. And not everybody can afford a headpiece, but most people can work toward the pendant flow. I mean, I personally, as a glass blower, can't afford a lot of the heady work I like or would love to own, but I have a nice pendant collection, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, same here. Yeah,
I would agree. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like you said, I once upon a time learned I think it's 21 days to break a habit and 7 days to start a new one. So that 30-day, is key, bro.
Yeah.
You need to implement that new, routine for that 30 days, bro. And it'll become a habit, or to break a habit. Trying to quit smoking cigarettes now, and that's a little challenging, but we're doing our best.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, good luck with that, brother. Yeah,
Thank you.
that'd be a game changer for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've only been smoking about 10 years, but it's still, I'm not happy. I'm paying somebody to kill myself.
Yeah. So, I tell people you might as well smoke.
It's an addiction, bro.
Yeah.
So we do what we can.
Might as well smoke crack and at least get you a little bit higher.
Yeah, it might not just, well, okay.
Dude.
I agree.
Yeah.
To a degree.
And a little
but
cheaper.
yeah, that's a bad habit, bro. It's, anyway.
Yeah. Well, good luck, brother. If you need any help and encouragement, I am all about getting people to quit smoking cigarettes. I will call you every day and say, hey, man, have you had a cigarette today? Do you smell like
Thank
shit?
you.
Do you taste like an ashtray? I'll go through the whole process, dude. I've been
You
doing
can't fucking breathe?
Yeah, exactly.
It's bad habits I have. So, hey, we're slowly whittling them down.
Yeah, man, it's important. Especially at 41, dude. You got a long ways to go still.
Yeah, bro, I feel like I'm in the prime of my life right now. I mean, it's been one of the best years we've had in a long time with being able to work with other people, travel with other people in the industry, get my work out there. I walk into a new gallery or a new part of the country and introduce myself, and people actually know who I am now. I've seen my work again, and that's just awesome and rewarding. And, like you said, it gives me a reason to stay motivated and take care of myself to, continue that journey, that dream in the glass world. It's awesome.
Yeah, man, fantastic. Well, I guess it's time for us to get into the lightning round, brother. Before we do, let's take a minute to thank our sponsors. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is sponsored by Wise Guy Media, a new company dedicated to showcasing the talents and offerings of their customers through podcasting, eye-catching graphics, logo, and customized web design. Established in 2015, Wise Guy Media is continuing to push the elements of web and logo design with outside-of-the-box ideas and up-to-date graphic-generating programs. Whether you want to launch your own podcast, need a website, or a new logo for your brand, they have all your needs covered to promote yourself and get your brand recognized in your industry. To see what they've been up to, check out their site, www.sonyermedia.com/wiseguy, for a sample of what they've been doing to help get this podcast off the ground. That's www.sonyermedia.com/wiseguy. So the lightning round consists of about a half dozen questions, and all I need from you is a quick 60-second answer or so. And if you want to expound upon the answers yourselves, feel free to go for it, man. And the first question is, which is always an interesting one, is if you could work with any living glass artist that you haven't worked with yet before, who is it and why?
That would be Lino Pietro. Just an awesome old school Italian master that I think I could learn a lot from, and he won't be around much longer.
Yeah, man, the guy is mind blowing. There's
Absolutely.
There's a video.
Big inspiration in software, or just in glass.
Yeah, man, like I've seen some videos with him and oh man, I'm gonna brain fart. I don't know. Never mind.
I think it would be cool to get in the studio. We had a dream once of doing like soft glass, hard glass boro on the soft glass scale or on a soft glass type of format, where it's a team of workers doing it. They're doing it now with furnace work, but that was a dream that Cameron had and other friends of mine have had over the time that we just haven't brought to fruition. But I think it would be awesome to get Lino into the lamp shop and see what he could, I guess, dictate or create, or what would happen. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, it sounds. Yeah, that would. I definitely see that the scale of boro is getting a lot bigger. It's crazy seeing how some of the sizes that people are getting into. It's like,
yeah,
mind blowing. Which I think is what's fun with the networking kind of glass work, to be able to Oh, so there's a video out there. It's Lino and Pino that work together in a studio in Italy, and the two guys, they both master soft glass artists, and it's funny to see the guys. They stand there and they look at the apprentice bench, and they both are like, okay, who's going to sit in the apprentice bench? They kind of like figure it out, and then they get busy and they collab together on this piece. And I think Pino ended up taking the master bench, but it's a phenomenal video. I'm going to put it on the link on our show. So
that'd be cool to see. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
I
fascinating.
have not watched that video, so that'd be awesome to check it out.
Back when we have the Dale Chihuly permanent collection here in St. Pete. I got actually to be a part of the opening and worked there for about 2.5 years doing tours and whatever.
Wow.
And so I got to be pretty involved in Dale's personal life and what brought him into glass and his background, and seeing the Italian influence that he has, and then the guys that he brings over from Italy, that really started the whole studio movement, but also brought all those techniques that have been kept secret for hundreds of years. Sure. I mean, I don't know if Dale ever went back to Italy, if they'd hang him out in the town square or something, or whatever. But it's interesting to see that those old guys like like Lino, dude. I'm the same way. He'd be amazing to work with.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see Chihuly did an exhibit here in Baltimore back in '96, and I went to his lecture and dinner and saw awesome exhibit. And I've been to a couple other of his exhibits, but yeah, he's definitely a huge inspiration in America for us, for all his glass. And the fact that he kind of directs the team of workers to make these amazing pieces because he has one eye and he can't see depth perception of that nature. Just to bridge those limitations and still create amazing art is wow.
Yeah, man. I always considered it to be he's like the conductor and composer for the orchestra, kind of idea, and
Absolutely.
and the orchestra is creating his art. It's fascinating, and a lot of people out there have this stigma against him because he's not the creator anymore. I've seen the guy with Blown Glass, bro. He made some amazing work, back when he was able to actually physically do it. It's so I have all the respect in the world, but he's also a very interesting human being in general. And when we had him at the collection, when he actually came to visit, they told us we got him at a good time because he was in a great mood. We had a little after party with him, and I sat around. He actually went
pretty awesome.
Yeah, he went to the bathroom to go pee, and I was like, I'm gonna go pee with Chihuly real quick. But I ended up not. But I stood outside the bathroom waiting for him to come out, and we sat and talked for about 25 minutes. It was interesting. I got to show him some of my glass, and it was definitely dream. It was like, for me, it was like getting to meet Michelangelo. If I was a sculptor or something like that. It's just,
that's pretty awesome.
Pretty neat shit. So
I was lucky enough to meet Method Man a couple of times. He has 2 of my pieces in his personal collection, so not quite the same as Chihuly, but definitely still that same awe. Someone that inspires you. They're awesome music. They're out there doing their thing, and just to meet them and have them be humble and willing to talk with you and meet with you is just hats off to those individuals that give us the time of day to inspire us.
Yeah, I agree. That's how it should be. That's awesome. So, if you could describe the sound of glass cracking in one word, what is it?
Fuck.
Perfect. What are your top 5 favorite colors in glass?
My top 5 favorite colors in glass?
Yep.
Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say Half-Life, Illuminati, Electric Flamingo, Atomic Kumquat, Agent Orange, and those would all be UV. I like, as far as 1 or 2 non-UV colors, I really like Blue Stardust and Green Stardust by Tag.
Yeah, they're fun colors, if you can get them.
Yeah, I like all the rare ones. They're hard to find.
Yeah. Speaking of that, did you ever get into the Draconis colors when those came out back in the day?
The what colors?
Draconis. Those really satiny, pretty colors that came out for a little bit.
The Draconis colors?
Yeah.
No, I did not. I haven't. I had a chance once upon a time to work with satin white, but I couldn't get it to work as nice as I like. So it wasn't something I went towards. Recently, I saw small stashes of them being released again by certain individuals, and it's definitely something I'd like to try and get my hands on. But I haven't been able to work with any that I'm aware of in a while.
Yeah,
and never really focused on it too much, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I would say that's probably like the 02, 03, 04 era where I was just working glass part-time. And 01, I kind of, 02, I kind of got out of depth the whole pipe dreams and 9/11 thing and just would work at a friend's shop on the weekend here and there and that. So I wasn't really up to date on all the new techniques and products and colors out at that time.
Yeah. Right on. Hell yeah. So in the studio, are you a TV, a radio, or both in the shop there?
Yeah, radio only guy. I see people with TVs in their shop. I think that would distract me. Too much shit out of the side peripheral vision in my eyes. I like to get in that zone and focus when I'm in the glass studio, where pretty much everything else around me is not there. I guess you kind of get in this time-dimensional zone, for lack of a better word, where if you're really focused in that zone, nothing else is radio. Music helps get me in that zone, whereas the TV, too much motion and stuff going on that would distract me.
Yeah, man, it's the weirdest feeling when you come out of that zone and you're like, where the fuck am I at right now?
Yeah.
And then I'm in my studio. Okay, I'm good. But it's it's not it's a thing that we get to experience that maybe 1% of human beings on Earth get to experience. It's just that creative hole that you get into. It's like it's beyond tunnel vision. Like I can't even explain it. It's just is what it is, and you just have to experience it. And it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I would agree. Me and my old shopmate Will Rodman, Santa Barbara Will. He was an old shopmate back in '94 in Eugene. His first model was in my shop. But anyway, we used to get in such a zone together working that we actually could communicate through ESP. I'm not lying.
No, I believe
we could actually communicate mentally through ESP, and and talk and communicate without verbal, because we were both in that zone and just able to, I guess, feel each other's vibrations, energy, actions. It's kind of wonderful and scary all at the same time. I haven't experienced that in a long time with anybody else, but I have by myself recently, in the shop when I work late nights, just so I can get in that setting here.
Yeah, dude. I have some friends here in town. They have a studio called Zen Glass, and in their older shop, I used to rent space from them, and we'd be in there 3 or 4 in the morning working, late night, music cranking, and we all worked in a line on the wall basically. And there would be times where we would we would all stop and look at each other, and then go right back to work. But that look was like, okay, are we all still here? Yeah, we're talking. Yeah. Communicating, and you get like this energy flow going. It's such the coolest thing. And in the glass world, I don't know, because not that many people that paint or sculpt. It's usually an individual thing in a studio, and with glass blowing, it's like, it's a community event. It's like this ceremonial circle that we're having, type thing, and it's pretty damn neat. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now, dude. Like it's
it is kind of ceremonial. I would agree, bro. We're all gathered around the fire. We're all chanting or creating or putting our energy and spiritual aspect into these creations. And yeah, bro, I've thought about it, but never really thought about it that way. You're absolutely right. It's kind of primal in some aspects.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. So, what's your worst injury in the studio?
Worst injury in the studio. I burned my finger pretty bad, probably in the first year of glass blowing on the torch. So I stuck my finger through the torch and blistered up pretty bad. But fortunately, that's about it. A couple bad cuts. I used to bang my glass on the ground to show people how strong it was on like the wooden floor, like bang, 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 instead of toss it. And once upon a time, the piece actually broke in my hand, and I remember pulling like 5 or 6 slippers of glass out of my hand. So now I just tell people it's glass. It will break if you beat it hard enough. It's not meant to be. It's not meant to be indestructible. So,
oh man, I always laugh when I see that shit. Like there's degenerate art, like he's panning through the freaking crowds, and these guys are bouncing their pipes off the table. I'm like, whoever buys that piece is gonna be pissed in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, glass. For those that don't know, every time you bang a piece of glass, it introduces stress or shock into the glass that never leaves until you re-anneal or re-temper the glass. So you bang that piece enough times in the same spot, I don't care how thick it is, it's going to break. It's just the nature of glass.
Yeah, like you see kids knocking the head of the bowl on the edge of an ashtray to knock the shit out. It's like, man, keep doing that.
Yeah, eventually it'll break. Yeah, it's going to break right there.
Yeah, exactly. So our last and final question is a fun one, and it is, if you were stranded on an island that had a glass studio and all it supplied was your gases, a kiln, and your torch, what 5 items would you bring? And this island, dude, could be whatever kind of island you want. A resort, desert, whatever.
So I don't have any glass with me. I just have my torch, my gas, and my kiln.
Yep.
So I'd have to bring some clear tubing. I'd have to bring a little bit of color. I'd have to bring a chunk of gold and a chunk of silver. So I got, 4 there?
Well, I'll do
my glasses.
I'll say the gold and silver as one, as a metals.
Okay. So we got 3. And my glasses, because I need to be able to see and not burn my eyes out. I have sensitive eyes anyway, so I would probably wear my blend glasses and sunglasses as well. Do a little, multitasking there. And number 5 would be some music, some tunes.
Sweet. Hell yeah. I love it. Hell yeah, dude. Well, before we let you go here, if you can give us a short parting piece of advice, and then also tell us how we can find you out there in cyberspace.
Absolutely. Practice makes perfect. Nothing good comes easy. If it comes easy, it's probably not good. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Those are a couple of words of advice. How you can find me, you can check me out on Instagram as Druw Downs, DRUEDOWNS. Also on Facebook is Drue Downs. I believe it's Druw A Downs, DRUE, and then an A and Downs because they need to change my name. And to contact me directly, you can either email me at at17602@gmail.com or kick Drue Downs, DRUE Downs. My company is also Alchemy Productions. So you can also find us on Facebook. It's Alchemy Productions, ALCHEMY, and then Productions with an S. And that would be the best way to contact me. We'll be up at the Pipe Classic next week in Vermont. kind of hanging out and checking things out. Look for my boxer, Mercury, the dog. He's always chilling with us. He's my service dog, kind of the alchemy mascot. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or any custom or wholesale orders. We'd appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. Well, again, brother, I appreciate it, dude. It's been a fun conversation. And, especially because, we both have journeyed through this whole crazy shit for the past 15 plus years. And so it's always fun to talk to guys that have gone on this journey along with me. And even though you're in different states and in different situations, and, it's pretty cool, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity and you taking the time out today to do the interview. Thank you very much.
Hell yeah, man. Anytime. And hang on after I say goodbye, and then we'll have our own goodbyes.
Awesome.
So, all right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys enjoyed Drew's talk, and we will talk to you soon. Take it easy.
Thanks, guys. Flame on. Peace.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.